Hey, welcome to the TCAM3 quick run guide. We're going to go through some basic setups on the TCAM3 main menu. This is the main screen that's going to come on every time you turn the machine on. Let's go through what the different icons are across the left side, across the top right, the options you have here in your readouts, and also some of the different options you're going to see across the bottom of your screen. Start off over here on the left hand side. First thing you're going to notice at the very top, if you hover over any of the icons, they will eventually come up and give you a listing. This is for maximum. The one above it here should say for measuring. Let's just show you what each one does. If I hit the measuring, you're going to see that I end up with my measuring bars at the left side and the bottom. This is more of a visual measuring system. It's expecting me to dial everything in using my fine adjust wheels. I bring that over, and the idea here is again to get the black triangle in the middle of each of the green squares. That represents a 2 micron tolerance, so I'm just going to slowly bring each one of those in. And what that's going to tell me there is the different sizes that I have on this tool that I have in there. But that's how that would be used. You're actually trying to line up the part with the center of the screen, and you're using the 2 black triangles in the green boxes as your alignment system. That's not used all that often, but it is good for some complicated parts or geometry you're trying to measure. The most common system is the next one down. It's called maximum. When you hit that, the computer automatically jumps. No matter where I move the part to, you can see my red line is following it, and it's picking out the maximum diameter and maximum height displayed on the screen. And you can see that regardless of where I am at, my little black triangles tend to stay in the middle of the green square. That by far is the most common measurement being used. The next one down is preset. It works pretty much the same way. It's going to follow the part, but preset will follow it whether I'm going maximum or if I'm reducing. It will stay with the part being moved. This is very useful if you're doing measuring inserts on an indexable tool. It allows you to rotate it through, measure each and every indexable insert, and align it accordingly. So very, very useful for indexable tools. The next one down is measuring center. If I hit that, you can see my little triangles return, and a little red square shows up in the middle of the screen. That red square is my measurement zone. So I'm going to bring this guy back up, and you can see that my left hand side indicator moves and is back in the green, but my bottom indicator is showing it's in the green even though it's fully enclosed. So we'd have to bring that guy back the other direction. And dial it in. It expects everything to come in from the side. So as soon as I cross the center, you can see it stays in the center. It's a fully engulfed measurement at that point, so you have to bring everything in from the bottom right quadrant up into the red square to get the measurement to work. Dial it in, and then you're off and running from there. The next line down is called range. Range allows me to draw a square or a measurement position. It's most useful in maximum, so I'm going to switch back to maximum. Now I'm going to select range, and I can draw on the screen where I want to measure. And you can see right off the bat, I ended up with one measurement line right here measuring my X. I do not have a Z measurement, and I don't because nothing in here has a height that can be measured. If I had a profile tool that had an X and a Z that was measurable, it would automatically pick up those items. And we'll try to find a tool to use as a demo here in just a few moments. The next line down below range, we're going to turn range off by clicking it again. Let's go back into maximum mode. The next line down is line. This allows me to measure any line. So if I have a tool that has a profile or a land or some sort of flat or angle that I want to measure, this is where I would go. I just pick points along the line that I'm wanting to measure, and it starts calculating out the line that I'm measuring. You can see here it gives me on this right hand side, the lower middle, right hand middle, I guess. It gives me the angle between the 2 points. It gives me the length, gives me the delta X and the delta Z. So very useful if you're measuring any kind of line, relief, or profile tool. I also have the ability to measure angles. Click on the angle button right here, and I can click 2 points make a line, so click 2 points here, and I can click. Oh, one thing I forgot to do was tell it next cutting edge. So we're going to reselect the angle and pick 2 points. With this option, you can pick as many points as you want to on that line to make it as accurate as possible. When you are ready to get your next line, right click, select next cutting edge, and there we go. And again, it gives you the information here on the middle right. It tells me the angle of line 1, it tells me the angle of line 2, and it gives me the difference between the two. So line 1 vertical, line 2 horizontal, the different angles, and then the angle between. Again, very useful if you're measuring a profile tool or some complicated geometry on a piece part. I can also measure the radius. I don't have a profile tool on here to measure a radius with, so I'll just show you kind of how it works. Just start picking points on an arc, and it will start putting in the different radius that fits that. So the more points I have, the more accurate the arc becomes. And then on the middle right, it tells you the radius, and it gives me the tolerance on that radius. So obviously, the more points you pick that are outside of an actual curve, the bigger the tolerance gets, and you can see it's the best fit radius between those points. So that's obviously some quick, easy measurements there on the left-hand side. This is the main icons you're going to be using. Again, the maximum is the most popular. If we go over to the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see you have a series of icons across the top. If we start off with the first one is imaging, and this allows you to pick virtually the same items that you have here on the left-hand side of the screen from your quick select. You won't use the imaging icon up here very often. The next icon over, go ahead and select that, is measuring programs. Again, line, angle, and radius, the three most common you're going to use, are already over here on your left-hand quick reference system. The next one is system. We've already gone through system, and it kind of gives you an idea on how to set up and manage your tool references. There's not much more you're going to do here. You're going to select tool references, you're going to manage them, and you may also be managing tools, and we'll go through how to add tools at a later time. Fourth one over here is the setup. We just went through this. These are your main options for setup. Here, your main positions you're going to use are going to be corrections. Under corrections, it gives you your parallel correction and your absolute zero that we went through a few moments ago. Next to that is print. That allows you to set up tool numbers and output and or store the different data as you go through it. Your two display windows have multiple options. If you select one, it turns red. When you right click on it, it gives you your options that are available for that measurement. Absolute, that's actually what it's measuring on the screen right now. If you type in difference, you can actually pick two different points and measure between the two. We'll show you how that works. So we're going to turn difference back off, go back to absolute. Incremental takes this back, will reset the value to 0, and you'll measure from the point you are at to the next point. Again, this is good for measuring from, say, a cutting tip to the top of a tool holder, where you want to know the tool projection, not the overall length of the tool. Switch that back to absolute. And every time you make a selection, notice the screen does disappear because it's ready to move on. You can select whether it's a diameter or a radius. And you can see the diameter signal is shown up behind the X, behind the measurement, telling you we're measuring diameters right now. I can hold that, I can lock it. You can see a little red box forms around it. That is now locked and will not move even if I move the master mandrel or move the presetter arm. Turn that back off. Then I can also change units. I can change from millimeters that it's currently in to inch. And if you select it in either one of the measurement view screens, it'll switch it for the other. The same thing goes for the Z. If I right-click within that, I have the exact same options available. Those are the main screens and main options that you have available. We'll explain some more of those in a few moments. And one thing I did not explain is here at the bottom it shows you a couple different icons. You can see I did select maximum. You can see maximum shows up here at the bottom. If I select that, it just reactivates it. Makes it jump to the next one. In the middle, to the left middle of the bottom screen, you can see this little icon right here. These are all the different measuring options that are available for the item on the screen. This is very helpful when you put a tool in the presetter and you're not quite sure how you want to measure it. If you select that icon, it'll come up and show you all the different available options for measuring that tool. In this case, I've got max X, max Z. I also have the ability to measure upon an angle to find the intersection point of both parts. I can measure a horizontal line and then the angle going vertical, or the vertical line and the angle coming across the horizontal, or I can use the center method where I manually bring the point in to the center of the screen that I want to measure. In this case, I want max X, max Z, and that's right where I'm at. Welcome to the TCAM3 quick run guide video session. First thing we're going to do is show how to do parallel correction using the TCAM3 software. So using your mouse, let's go to the setup menu. We're going to go down to corrections, and we're going to say parallel correction. Brings up the parallel correction menu. This is a pretty easy one. All the fields here on the left are grayed out. You can't change them. You can select to delete, but we don't need to. We're going to go record. It now comes up with parallel correction, and it's asking for my first point. You can see here on the screen I have the blue outline of my master mandrel already in the spindle, and I have my control bars here on the top or the left hand side and the bottom. These will be used to line up the master mandrel and take some readings for parallel correction. First thing I'm going to do is move to the bottom of the master mandrel. I'm going to lock the presetter in position, and I'm going to dial the master mandrel. You can see it here, it's slowly moving. I'm going to work on getting this black arrow or triangle into the middle green section that represents a 2 micron tolerance. So I'm slowly going to adjust my fine adjust, moving that over. Once I get it into the middle or close to the middle of the green square, I'm going to say OK. I now move the tower up towards the top of the master mandrel, and I realign it, bringing it back in to within a 2 micron tolerance. Once I get it back within that green square, I say OK, and it now tells me that I've made an adjustment and that my parallel correction has made an adjustment of minus 0.064 microns per millimeter parallel correction to the computer. That'll be taken into account every time you make a reading at this point. Select OK. Parallel correction is now absolutely finished. We can now move on to the setup of the absolute 0 points. Again, with our master mandrel already in the spindle, go ahead and select Setup, back down to Corrections, absolute 0 point. It's going to talk about, give you the option to have a master mandrel or a ball, depending on what type of mandrel you received. It should be a regular mandrel type. You need to look at your master mandrel to see if it's in millimeters or inch. The one I am currently using today is in millimeters. I now select the X diameter. If I double click in that, I can type in the readings or the etching that's right off of your master mandrel. In this case, the one being used is 50.003 millimeters. Select OK. Go to my Z, double click. Again, reading off the master mandrel. I need to change this to a 330.30 millimeters. Select OK. Now I hit record. And again, it's asking for 0.1. And I can do the diameter or the length or the height first. It does not matter. Again, I'm using the small triangles in the green boxes to align everything. I'm going to go ahead and start with the X, since it's already in the green square. I would use my fine adjust. I'm going to move it here to move the mandrel back into focus. Get the black triangle in the middle of the green square. Select OK. It now asks for 0.2. Now I move to the very top of my mandrel. See it here on the screen. And I use my fine adjust wheel to bring it up. Now I'll be working with the black triangle that will pop up over here. And I'm just going to bring the mandrel up. Start watching my black triangle. And you'll see it start coming in as the mandrel gets into position. Get the black triangle in the middle of that green square. Select OK. I've now set up my absolute 0 positions and my parallel correction. The next item of business is to set up the tool reference, if you have any. In this case, we're going to set up a 40 taper adapter to be used, or reduction. Starts out the same way. I'm going to, in this case, not go to the setup. I'm going to go to the system, and I'm going to go manage tool references. I'm going to select new. I'm going to double click in the box. We're adding a 40 taper. Give it a name. We're just going to call it 40 taper. The next line down is unit. Looking at the top of your adapter, you're going to see that it's most likely marked in millimeters, and the offset will be something in the nature of 15 point some variation of that. So leave it in millimeters. We are not changing the X direction at all in this case. We're just changing the Z offset. So we come all the way down here to gauge diameter. Double click. Type in the etching off the top of your adapter. In this case, mine's 15.01. Select OK. Select OK again. And if you notice over here on the screen, it automatically changed to show 40 and 40 taper. So that's ready to go. That's how easy it is to add the adapters. If you're wanting to change between adapters, a couple of different ways to do it. You can select on the little angle icon and it brings up the tool references. You can then select whichever ones you have active. You can select change. It allows you to change any of the data that you've already inputted. You can delete it. Escape or OK. Once you select that, we're going to escape. You can print the list if you have a printer selected or set up with your presetter. You can say new and go right back into the tool setup. So you can add as many adapters or reductions as you need. Pretty easy to do. We're going to X out of both of those. So at this point, we've already set up our parallel correction, our absolute zero, and we've added an adapter. And here's another example we're going to use for backlight chip edge inspection. I put another indexable tool in. I'm going to go right click, I'm going to select the light, I'm going to turn it on, and now I can go through and look at all the different inserts on this tool as well. Check for damage, check for wear, see any damage from being dropped or scuffed or anywhere that the coating is already starting to wear off. With this system, I can also use the line measurement, and I can actually pick the lines. I can pick new measurement, pick up all the different pick points along the cutting edge, and it will provide information over here to the side about that. It's basically telling me I've got a 2-degree draft across the top of that tool, and gives me the line length that I measured. Just another example of what can be done with the chip edge inspection method. And to turn it off, I can turn the light off, and it's ready to go. Now, also point out real quick, you're trying to turn the light back on, and I can also measure angles. So if I wanted to measure the angle of this insert, pick 2 points along that line. You can see it draws a line right along it. Go right click, next cutting edge. Pick 2 points along the top. You can see it's got a nice following there. It gives me the line, the angle of line 1, angle of line 2, and it tells me the line angle between the two. So lots of good information can be measured right from the backlight or the inspection screen. When you're ready to go back to regular measurement, you can either right click and select light, or just go ahead and select one of the measurement methods. We're going to select maximum. It automatically jumps over, picks up the standard measurement of maximum on the screen. Alright, now let's go through how to add tools to the database. You can store about 1,000 tools in the database for pull-up or for record. So we're going to go through and we're going to select the setup. We're going to come down here to where it says Manage Tools. So we're going to select that and we're going to add a new one. You can give it a tool ID number. You're going to give it a name. It's going to tell you your tool reference, which is what you're using over here to measure it in. Then it will allow you to put in some different dimensions. So let's give it a tool ID. So we're going to double click in the box, and we're going to call this tool tool 5, and we're going to say it's on machine. We're going to call it say it's on our mill 2, and say OK. Now here's what's really cool. I can go through and type in the information as far as my nominal X dimension and my nominal Z. Now why would I want to add a tool? If you have a certain tool that you set up constantly and you're more interested in the offset from the original setup, you can come in here, set the tool up, and it'll show you the difference. Let me show you how that works. We've given it a tool ID, we've given it a name, we have a tool reference involved. The playback button right here pulls the information that's currently on the screen over here to the right. Hit playback. It now pulls these two dimensions in. As soon as I hit OK, you can see over here it jumps and shows a delta for both dimensions. That's trying to give me the delta dimension between the two dimensions versus what I just saved. So let's go around to the next insert. And there's always a little bit of a difference between insert to insert. That's why I grabbed this one. And we're going to hit maximum. It's going to jump to the corners. And it's going to show you that I've lost some Z on the height, and I also gained some X on the diameter. Not much, 19 microns isn't a whole lot, but it's enough that you need to know that when you go through and reprogram your machine. Now I can also go through and right-click inside any of the boxes, bring up the axis mode, set that back to absolute on both of those, and it will go back to absolute measurement systems. The tool I'm currently measuring also displays over here on the right-hand side. You can see it's tool 5 from mill 2. It's using a 40 taper adapter. If I want to change that, what I did, if you hover over this picture of the tool, you left-click it, it comes up and gives you the different tools you have in your system. So you can pick, like here I have tool 5, or I have tool 3, 4, 5. I can also hit deselect, and that goes back to absolute measurement and has nothing stored in the data system. This is very useful if you have tools you set up over and over and over, and the only information you need to have is the delta from the original. Okay, the most common types of measurements that you're going to be making on any presetter, 98% of the use you're going to have is going to be your max X and your max Z. That's what you want to have to set your offsets on your machine. So I've stuck an end mill in here now, and let me show you how this works. So you take your tool, you have an empty screen. I'm going to jump back to empty. You see I've got the red square on it, and there's nothing involved. Put my tool in, and give it a moment. You can see my max X and max Z jump on the screen automatically. So I'm going to hit my maximum button, make sure it picks it up. Now I'm just going to rotate this tool through a swing all the way around. And in this case, you can see it's picking up some hair up on top of the tool. If you happen to have a little bit of your putty that came with your machine, just try to get that off of there. And we're going to go ahead and hit the maximum button again. It's going to jump back down to the top. And just rotate this all the way through all the cutting edges. And once you've done that, you can look over here to the right top screen. You can see it's a 25.3 millimeter tool with a gauge length of 168.6, or you can switch that to inches if you're interested. So you're just shy of 1 inch and you're a 6.63 gauge length on that tool. Again, you have the same options you've had before. You can turn the backlight on and take a look at that tool and see just how beat up it is as you're using it. And then jump right back to your main measurement system. Hit maximum, and away you go. Let's change tools again here real quick. I'm going to put a little ball nose tool in here now. And again, once the tool's in, you have to relocate it. Bring it back up on the screen. See if we can get rid of some of the dirt that's on it. We're going to hit maximum. Now here's one thing I want to point out. Since the preset is only showing one maximum dimension, and that's being the z-axis in this case, you only have one line going across. It's showing it's just measuring the maximum z. Your x value on the screen is showing 0. You do not have a measurement currently on the screen for that. And you're also going to notice that it's giving you a 191 radius and drawing the arc on the screen for this cutting tool. So it's, there you go, about and about 185, 186 for that arc. Now I can go through now and I can right click on the z-axis. I'm going to say hold. You can see how it automatically put the red box around my z. Now I'm going to pull this tool over, locate the side of the tool, hit my maximum button again, hit my icon at the bottom, tell it I want to measure X only. I now have my X-axis only coming across here. And you can see that I have a 363 diameter. And if I rotate that through, there we go, it jumps up to 374. Yeah, rotate it around, 375, right on the money. So you can see with this tool I've got a 4.54 gauge length and a 375 inch diameter. And again, I can still do the chip edge inspection. Take a look at all the dirt, debris, and chips that are on my tool. And I can turn that right back off. I can now print my label or write this down so it's ready to go.